John Daniel Davidson is a political editor for the Federalist. He joins me on this now. John, thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you. I wanted to kind of get your reaction to some of the testimony that you heard today from the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, and of course, we have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, and then CENTCOM head McKenzie. What was the biggest takeaway for you from today's hearings and from their answers on these questions?
The biggest takeaway is that Biden was lying to George Stephanopoulos of ABC News in his August 19th interview when he said that none of his military advisors advised him to keep troops in the country and that none of them warned him that withdrawing those troops would trigger the collapse of the Afghanistan military and government. We know now that McKenzie and Milley both said that exact thing would happen and advised him to keep those troops in the country. You just add it to a long list of lies that the Biden administration has been peddling since it took office.
Yeah, I found it incredibly intriguing. I think it was Milley that answered a question, and I was trying to remember who asked him this. There were a lot of really good moments, but he had been asked about that Doha agreement, which really wasn't even in effect, you could say, anymore towards the end of Trump's term, because Trump had already, they were going to have discussions at Camp David. He ended it and as we've discussed before, with a conflict, you either win, lose, or you negotiate some kind of peace settlement. And we chose not to win. So we were trying to negotiate some sort of peaceful exit. I mean, regardless of what was going to happen, the question was always about how to leave. And he, unlike Biden, was listening to these military advisors who were like, okay, you can't go during killing season, which, it's kind of a joke. We have pumpkin spice season. They got killing season over there. They go and they harvest all the poppies and they go up in the mountains. And Trump listened. And then, of course, we were still bombing, as I understand it, John. We were still bombing the Taliban even after we signed this agreement. And then, of course, when they wouldn't end the relationship with al-Qaeda and when they carried out a terror attack that killed 12 people, including an American service member, that's when, from what I understand, the Trump administration said, okay, we're not doing this. It's pretty much done. So why is it that the Biden administration still acts like this agreement was in effect somehow? And even though he didn't have to go by the Paris Accord, even though he didn't have to go by what Trump said for remain in Mexico. John, why are they still pushing this like it existed?
This was something I think that Biden had on his agenda before he came into office. He was going to pull those troops out of Afghanistan. He was going to be the president who ended the Afghanistan war, no matter what the cost, no matter the consequences. He was going to do that. So obviously you have this sort of deeply dishonest way of talking about it and these blatant lies about having to stick to this agreement. And as you mentioned, there is nothing that the Trump administration did, no agreement that the Trump administration reached, no policies that they put in place from the border to anywhere else that Biden felt like he had to abide by. So why this one thing that Biden thought he had to stick with, this agreement from the Trump administration, which, as you say, wasn't even in effect when Biden took office? Now, I think this was a foregone conclusion. Biden was going to do this no matter what the conditions on the ground were. And this is the important part, no matter what his generals said to him. So, you have his top military advisors testifying now today that they warned him that this very thing that we all saw happen was going to happen. And Biden just lying about it. Now, if Biden doesn't want to listen to his generals, that's fine. He has every right as president to make a different decision. But he's lying about it, and he's continuing to lie about it, and his administration is continuing to lie about it, just like they lied about the Border Patrol, just like they lie about everything.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. These incredibly unaccountable, and it's weird that in the exact same week, not weird, but very coincidental, in the exact same week that Biden's smearing Border Patrol agents who completely made up. I mean, I guess people who live in D.C. and some of these folks in New York have never seen horses before or split reins or understand Western style riding. These guys are just, bless them, they're doing their jobs. They're trying to deal with the hand that the Biden administration dealt them. And then Joe Biden comes out there, says that they were strapping people. There's going to be consequences to pay. But apparently those consequences don't extend to his own handling, his botched handling of this. And is there going to be accountability? I mean, can Congress even do anything?
I don't know, but I think it's clear at this point that the Biden administration essentially governs by lies. Every important issue, every crisis that the Biden administration faces, they meet it with falsehoods. And in the case of the Border Patrol, abject falsehoods. The video had already come out showing what had happened there on the banks of the Rio Grande. And so when Biden said Biden should have known that he was lying, and I think he did know that he was lying, but he's committed to this line. He's committed to, flattering the pieties of the left wing of the Democratic Party. And so he had to come out and say this abjectly untrue thing about Border Patrol agents that everyone already knew was untrue. The photographer who took those pictures had already said he didn't see the Border Patrol agents whipping anybody. The video had already come out. And so this is governance by lies, and it's born of incompetence on part of the Biden administration.